So in last class we had discussed about the last class we are going to discuss about the gust envelope. So with the gust envelope, how would be the load factor and what are the cases you have to consider for the load factor. So especially what is meant by gust load. So gust load is nothing but it is the load which has been encountered due to unpredictable atmospheric disturbance. Okay, so unpredictable atmospheric disturbance. So that is called as gust. First of all, we should know it. Okay. So first topic is we are going to discuss about gust envelope. Right. So it is unpredictable. And it was unavoidable. Right. Now, why it becomes unpredictable and unavoidable? Because we have serious weather conditions, right? So we have some weather conditions that can be predicted, and we will deliver that weather conditions through NOTAMs. Okay, so we had discussed about NOTAMs policies and flight plan policies. Okay, that is the flight information service system. Okay, they were delivering all the flight service station so delivered all the weather conditions to the pilot so that they can change their flight plan and they can come back for the same airport. Okay, so they want to go for a further flying condition, right? So these weather conditions are predictable, but while they were going on to this weather condition, when the pilot is having that issue, okay, so he will face a strong gust wind. Okay, so that strong gust wind is categorized into different types. Okay, so you can have the gust wind in any direction. Okay, so that it is called as unavoidable because gust wind disturbs aircraft in any direction. Right? In which direction gust wind is highly affecting? Okay, so that is we have the vertical gust wind. So vertical gust wind is said to be more effective, where the gust loads are increasing. Okay, so why it is called as more effective? Because vertical gust wind increases the angle of attack, right? And so that it increases the lift. So when a pilot operating an his aircraft and he is just going into an vertical gust wind, then what he suddenly faces is that suddenly the angle of attack increases and suddenly the lift is getting increased, so that the pilot could not able to control the aircraft towards the nose down direction. If he suddenly controls towards the nose down direction, okay, the gust wind doesn't produce on the second field. Okay, so we have the first field where gust wind is there, where angle of attack has been produced, where that a small hump is like it is like a hump. Okay, and suddenly when the pilot tries to pull down, or he just control his control stick, and he just make the aircraft to pull down, means on the meantime, okay, you will be suddenly dropping out. Okay, with a heavy pushing down moment, that is pitching down is very effective, and so that it could cause some effective damages to the control sticks. Okay, so that is the main reason why this vertical gust wind is said to be the unavoidable and unpredictable one for the pilot. Okay, so and we will be performing some kind of motions. Okay, so we have the irregular pitching moment throughout the vertical gust wind, and the pilot couldn't be able to recover it. Okay, so in order to recover this, okay, what is the vector limit which has to be handled for different speeds? That is, you have to bring the aircraft into the definite speeds so that you can just bring out from the dive speed. So when a dive speed is there, so we will be having a vertical gust wind. So this can increase the angle of attack or increase the lift. And we can also tell that with the same vertical gust wind which has been acted from top of the aircraft. Suppose we are considering this as the aircraft. Okay, so in the top of the aircraft, the gust wind will be appearing. So we will be having the free stream velocity like this. So this is at the cruise velocity of the aircraft, right? And usually facing the top velocity like this, and we having the sudden change in angle of attack, right? So which is giving pushing down, that is pitching down moment. Okay, so pitch up and pitch down, that is the nose and the nose down has been statutorily controlled by means of vertical gust wind. So that is the major issue of having this thing. Okay, so when it pushed downwards, you have to mark your dive speed, and if you know the dive speed, you can recover the aircraft within that limit, where you can maintain the load factor within that limit. And the limit, if negative limit load factor during this gust envelope stream is that you should maintain with minus sign. Okay, so that is you will be having minus 1.5 as the margin. So it doesn't go beyond minus 1.5. If what it goes means, then the structural damage will occur, right? So that is the main thing. We are having the problem with the gust wind. And then you will be wondering that, sir, what is the speed of this vertical gust wind, sir? So we will face this issue only at higher altitudes, like 20,000 feet and 50,000 feet, 20,000 feet and 50,000 feet. Okay. So in this, we are considering three regions now. So one is rough air gust speed. Okay, so rough air gust. So during rough air gust, okay, the speed of the rough air gust is said to be 66 feet per second, right? 20,000 feet, and then we have 30 feet per second in 50,000 altitude, right? And then we'll be having the gust at a max design speed. So gust at maximum design speed. So this is the speed limit we have maintained. That is the gust wind has to be maintained within this limit. So we have 50 feet per second, and this is 20 feet per second, right? And in the same way, gust at a maximum dive speed. So I had been told you about the dive speed also. So gust wind speed at maximum dive speed. So it is nothing but 25 feet per second in 20,000 and 12.5 feet per second. So this is in 50,000 feet. Okay. So the unavoidable thing of gust wing is having this margin for a typical aircraft. Okay. So this is the strategy of analysis of a gust wind at a higher altitude where your aircraft is facing. Okay. So rough air gust wind is to be the highest one, and the maximum dive gust wind, that is the vertical gust wind, which has been acting on the top of the aircraft, is said to be 12.5 feet per second for 50,000 altitude and 25 feet per second for 20,000 feet altitude, right? So it is nearly half the, when you mention this, okay, you may found that for 50,000, above 50,000 feet, all the configuration of this gust speed has been of the half of them, okay, on 50,000 feet. That is easily justifiable and it is easily recoverable, okay, within this limit. So what we have to design is that we have to design our aircraft only within this limit. So you know the gust wind now. So I'm considering the rough air gust or maximum design gust. Okay, so based on that, I'm going to predict the del alpha. So I'm going to predict the del alpha. How will you get the value of del alpha? First of all, so del alpha has been calibrated from change in angle of attack. Okay, with respect to change in angle attack with respect to gust wind. Okay, so here for this we need some clarification here, right? So changes in the mean with respect to lift coefficient. So del alpha versus CL alpha. So del alpha versus CL alpha is said to be the most important one, and we have to keep in mind, and we are going to focus it on del alpha versus CL alpha. And now for this, what will be the major issue, right? So we will be having this del alpha and CL alpha for respective airfoils. So in your airfoil selection, in your ADP design project one, okay, you will have your airfoil selection. So you will be having a wing like this, right? So in this wing, you will be having root, tip, and then mid. So in section, you should know your airfoil and tip of the card. So we have the card in all the root, mid, and the tip. So your card length will be varying if your wing is like the trapezoidal wing, and your root portion is having one aerofoil, and mid portion is having one aerofoil, and tip is having one aerofoil, because I will just design your aircraft wing with a twisted wing configuration, so that I will maintain different airfoils in different section. So what you are supposed to do is you have to calculate this CL alpha in each region. So CL alpha in each region, like root, mid, and the tip. So my design aircraft, right? So I had two airfoils. So one is NACA 688 airfoil. Okay, I had selected two airfoils for me. So it's NACA 63A010. Okay, and the second airfoil is NACA 001035 airfoil. Okay, so I got two airfoil. Now for this two airfoil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate CL alpha, that is average CL alpha. So you have to calculate the CL alpha at a different del alpha, right? So let me construct the table like this. So del alpha and then NACA 63A010. So for this, we are finding the value of CL alpha, and for this airfoil, we are finding the value of CL alpha. Okay, and all these values has been already calculated and predicted in the design project book. So you can go and refer the CL alpha values for a change in angle of incidence, right? So for different change in angle of incidence, so what are the angle of incidence that has to be considered? So that is the second thing we are going to see now, right? So here we have alpha 001035 CL alpha, and the other thing is, yes, we will be having for have to calculate for average. Okay. So when you compare the wing, you have to calculate the average CL alpha, right? So you have to put table like this, right? So according to my design, okay, I had selected these things, right? And my del alpha is that I'm going to calculate the value of del alpha with respect to different speeds, right? So with respect to the speed constraint, okay, so I will be calculating the speed table now. So we have to calculate del alpha now. So I am calculating U, V, and then del alpha. So del alpha is equal to tan inverse of U by V. So we have gust wind speed, and then V as the speed at different regions of flow, and we have to calculate the value of del alpha now, right? So suppose if my U value is set to be, that is, these are nothing but pre-calculated values, is 20.1. So this is the gust velocity which we are facing at 20,000 feet altitude, and that u velocity is 20.1, and the cruise velocity of my designed aircraft is 200. And what is the del alpha? So students, you can calculate this value and you can tell me the answer. So use this formula and you have to tell me the first answer of this first one. Okay. And then the second position is 15.4. So this is the second gust velocity at different altitude. That is same 20,000 feet altitude. We will be having the same same kind of different kind of values. Okay. And this has supposed to be in maximum cruise altitude. So maximum cruise speed. Okay. And then we will be having 405.9. Okay. Yesterday we had calculated these values. 405.9. So here you have been considered for 7.62. And then downward gust wind velocity minus 7.62. And same like downward minus 15.4, where we will execute the maximum gust speed, and minus 20.1, where you will have the 200 velocity. So for upward and downward velocity of gust wind, you are going to calculate the value of del alpha. So you are considering three speeds. Okay. I had been told you that initially we have three speed. I had told you about three speeds. So one is rough air gust, maximum descent speed, and maximum dive speed. So rough air gust is nothing but the speed which has been measured at 20,000 feet, 20.1, which has been predicted from pre-calculated values for different missions of aircraft. Okay, 20.1, and the second speed is said to be the descent speed. Descent speed, descent gust is 15.4. So for this, your maximum cruise velocity is 270.6. And we have the dive speed. So the dive speed is 405.9, okay, which we had calculated in last class. And you just put the value of u as 7.62. So that is said to be the upward facing velocity. So upward gust wind is nothing but upward gust wind, and we have downward gust wind. So with the same operation, we are putting minus sign, and negative dive speed, and negative descent speed, and negative cruise speed. Okay, so we will be having the same notations of v, and can you see the value of del alpha now? 5.73, and for this minus 5.3. Okay, so there were two values, so 5.73 and minus 5.73. And what is next one? 3.27. That's second value. That's great. So 3.25. Okay. So 3.5. And here this is minus 3.25. Right. And then what about the mid value? Third value? 1.075. For this negative sign, you are just putting minus 1.075. Yes, that's great. Right. Now we had find the value of del alpha. Now we are just substituting these values of del alpha in this table, and we are going to find the value of NACA 638.010 in the aircraft data book. So this is nothing but we found NACA series airfoils in the aircraft design data book. So it is available in the internet. So when you just type the airfoil, and when you mention the alpha value for the particular alpha value, the value of CL alpha has been found in the data book, right? So from the data book, you can choose the value, and after taking the value, you have to find the average of these two. And after considering this average CL value, okay, we will be having the formula for estimating the change in lift, right? So after finding the value of change in lift, you will be finding the load factor n. Okay, so after finding the change in load factor of delta n, and then you are going to find the value of n peak. Okay, so let me tell you the way first of all we can write the value of del alpha. So 5.73. Right, and then 3.25, 3.25, and then 1.05, 1.075, and then minus 1.075. Right, and then we'll be having at last minus 3.25, and then 5 point minus 5.73. Okay, so the value of CL alpha, I can write it. The estimated values, right? So here we have the estimated values or pre-calculated values, right? Yes. So for 0.35 and 0.32, okay, the average is 0.335. Okay. So I can write the average straight away. So 0.335 for the first one. Okay. First del alpha, and then for second del alpha 0.225. 0.225. Okay. And for third 0.05. For third 0.05. And for negative angle of attack, we have minus 0.08. Minus 0.08. And then minus 0.215. Minus 0.215. And then minus 0.315. Minus 0.315. Right. So we had estimated for various del alpha. We can estimate the value of CL alpha. Now, what you have to do is for first one, for this first table, or for this first value, okay, we will be having the values of velocity, right? For different velocity is there, and different del alpha is there. Now we are going to predict the additional column. I'm just putting the additional column, and I am going to find the value of del n. So for finding the value of del n, okay, so I can write you the formulas first. So del n, so del n is equal to del L by W. Okay, so again, what is del L? So del L is nothing but rho v square s into CL alpha. Okay, rho v square s into CL alpha whole divided by 2. Okay, so this is the value of del L, and then v. This v is nothing but the v which has been given here, right? And that v, and then s is said to be the 111. For my design specification, the span area is 172 something, right? And then CL alpha for this particular CL alpha. So we found the average CL alpha. This CL alpha should be noted down here, and that divided by 2. Right. So you know that formula as simple as much, and you can estimate this value of del alpha. Okay. So after finding the value of del alpha, okay, we will be going to predict the delta n. So after finding the value of delta n, we are going to predict the value of n peak. Right. So n peak is nothing but due to gust wind. So this is the maximum load factor which has been considered apart from the limit load factor. Okay. So this n peak is nothing but we have the n limit load factor already, which we had find plus delta n. Okay. So this is a formula we have to remember, right? And then we can verify the formula of delta L here. Right. So here you will be having, yeah, you have to multiply with delta alpha. Okay, that is the same. You have to put it down here. So del alpha has also been multiplied here. Right. Okay. So del alpha, you should substitute the value of del alpha in radians. Okay. So now, and then the value of density. The value of density at 22,000 feet. That density value we should consider. See here at the value of del alpha, the density value is 0.3175. Okay. So let me compute it for first one. Okay. So as per this given data, okay, you may write the first value. So V is 200. And CL alpha, and the value of CL alpha, we have the value of CL alpha here, right? So the value of CL alpha is 0.335. 0.335. Okay, and for this del alpha is 5.73. Okay, you have to convert this into readings. So you just multiply by pi by 180. Multiply by pi by 180 and tell me the answer now. What is the value of del alpha? 956 into 10 to the power of -3. Okay, radians. Okay, now we can start substituting this value of delta L now. We can find the value of delta L now. So delta L is equal to the value of rho is nothing but 0.3175. So 0.3175 is at that altitude. Okay, so we have 22,000 feet altitude. We have considered at this altitude, you have to consider the density and you are finding the value of changing it, right? And then V is 200. Okay, V is 200 square. Yes, sure. Yes, sure, Venkata Subramani. We can write it as 100 into 10 to the power -3. Right? And yes, so what is the span? So span of my designed aircraft is 173.96. Span area is 173.76. And then the value of CL alpha 0.335. And the value of del alpha 99.95 into 10 to the power of -3. And then whole divided by 2. Yes, now you can tell me the answer of delta L. Okay, so 36.98 into 10 to the power of 3. Okay, right. So this is in newtons. Now we have to find the value of del N. Okay, that is load factor. So we have 36.98 into 10 to the power of 3, and you are substituting divided by W. Okay, so W is nothing but weight of the aircraft. So total weight of the aircraft is 76109.484 multiplied by 9.81. Okay, so 76109. Okay, 76109 into 9.81 into 9.81. Yeah, can I get the value of delta N now? 049 is the value of delta N. Now we have to find the value of N peak now. So N peak is nothing but N limit load factor. So for a 200 velocity, okay, what is my N limit load factor? And you have to add this N limit load factor with this delta N 0.049. Okay, and this N limit is nothing but we had already estimated this N limit value. It is nothing but 3.53. Okay, so we got the value as 3.53. For this particular velocity 200, it was 3.53. And now what is the total value NP? $3.579. I think 3.579. Okay. Yes. So 3.579. Okay. So this is the value of NP. Okay. Now we had find the value of NP now, and this NP has been found for various V, and we shall put the table like this, and here we have 6 different values, right? For 6 different values of velocities. Okay. For this velocity, you are finding the value of NP. Okay, that is the gust load factor. So for first velocity 200, okay, my NP is 3.579. Okay, 3.579. And then we have to compute the same for velocity. What I'm going to do is with this same, okay, I'm going to just edit only the values of velocity and del alpha. Velocity, del alpha, and del N. Okay, so here we can fine tune the data from this value itself. Okay, I'm just need only the calculated values. So Now we are going to compute it for second row, right? So before that, I can write the values right here. In this, what is my velocity now? So the velocity is 270.6. So velocity is 270.6, right? And what is the value of CL alpha? So CL alpha is 0.225. So CL alpha is 0.225, right? And then the value of del alpha. So what is my value of del alpha? Yes, 3.25. So for this 3.25, can you tell me the value of del alpha in radians? Yes, can anyone tell me the value of del alpha in radians into pi by 180? 0.5672. Okay, substitute this value of delta L, that is instead of this V, 270.6, and S are same, and CL alpha as 0.225, right? And then in radians, that is del alpha 0.05672 all divided by 2. Now, what is the answer we are getting? By 80 into 10 to the power of 3. Yes. Oh, 25.80. Right. So 25.80 into 10 to the power of 3. Okay. Now, what is the value of delta n? 0.3456. Okay. So 0.03456. And yeah, we just add a 0.034. Okay. And make it to 0.034, and just add with this n peak, and you can tell me the answer now. So the value is 3.5645. Okay. So 3.564. Okay. So now for this second value of velocity 270.6, for second value of velocity 270.6, we are getting the value of n peak as 3.564. So 3.564. Okay. So this is the value of n peak. And what is your third velocity? 405.9. Okay. So 405.9. So for this 405.9, we should estimate this value. So we have 405.9 here, and the value of CL alpha. So what is the value of CL alpha for third one? So the third one velocity is 0.05. Right. So 0.05, and here 405.9. Right, and then 173 as it is, and here it is 0.05. Okay, and the value of del alpha 1.075. Okay. So for 1.075, what is in radians? 0.1876. Okay. So for this 0.01876. Okay, you are substituted here, and yeah, others are substituted. Now, what is the value of delta L? Okay, 4267.8. Yeah, correct. Okay, so 4267.8. I'm substituting here. What is the value of delta N? So it is like 0.0057. Okay, so 0.0057. So we are getting the amount of LAS 3.535. Okay, that's it. So 3.535 is to be our input. Now 3.535 is set to be the value of NPIC for P. Okay, so the same way you are going to calculate. Okay, for the same velocity, but the value of CL alpha is set to be negative here, right? So minus 0.08. Okay, so that is the difference. So we have minus 0.08, and the value of delta alpha is also minus. So minus into minus, here we have plus. And so let me check in the table. See here, for this particular velocity, we will be obtaining the value of delta n as 0.01. So when you talk about this n peak, okay, so for this 405.9, okay, you have to consider your previous n value. This is not with respect to n peak, that is n limit, right? So for example, we had already estimated this 409.5 value. So this the constraint load factor is 0, right? See here, you can check here, the constraint load factor is 0. So for this constraint load factor, okay, we are considering this n peak as 0 here, right? So we are considering n peak here 0. So when you treat this as 0, we will be getting the value as 0.005 only. So for your next value of n peak, we will be having 0.005. And similarly for fifth one, okay, so for fifth one, we'll be having the negative velocity, that is 270.6. Okay, for the same velocity, 270.6. And then here is also you are not considering. So as per the report, here is also you are considering the value of delta n. Okay, but here for this next 270.6. Okay, so in your previous VN diagram, okay, so in your previous VN diagram, we will be having this value, that is minus 1.412. So for this minus 1.412, this n limit has been considered here, right? So here I will be considering the n limit value as minus 1.17. Okay, so in this you are just subtracting the value of delta n, and you will be finding the value of n peak, and this n peak is supposed to be minus 1.45. Okay, so we will be having minus 1.45, and then at last we will be having this velocity, that is 200. So for this 200, we will be having the same negative velocity, so minus 1.45, that is minus 1.41. So in this also, okay, we will be having minus 1.47. So the value of n peak is minus 1.47. Right? So for different velocities, different n limit is there. Okay, so we will be using n limit as a constant one for first three. Okay, so for first three, we will be maintaining the constant value, and for next three, we will be having the variable quantities since the downward velocity is acting. So for downward direction velocity, we will be using different n limit value. Okay, so based on your previous data, and we will be having this value of n peak. So finally, we had computed this value. Now I am going to use these values in an Excel sheet, and I'm going to plot this value, right? Plot VN diagram. So Gust VN diagram. Now I am going to plot. So let me plot this value in the Excel sheet. Yes. So we have VN diagram already. We had discussed it, and now we are going for Gust VN diagram. So first one is velocity is 200, and the second one is 3.579. Okay, 3.579. The next one is 270.6. Right. For this, the value is 3.564. So 3.564. Okay. Next one, we have 405.9. So 405.9. So for this, 3.535. So we have 3.535. Okay. For the same 405.9, okay, we will be having 0.005, right? And then 270.5, sorry, 270.6. For this, the value is negative here. So minus 1.45. So minus 1.45. And then again for 200 velocity, okay, we will be having minus 1.47. So minus 1.47. Right. So for different velocities, for 6 different velocities, we have find the load factor. And now we are going to plot the graph. So select all the cells and right. So in this, you can plot the charts now. So go to insert, and here charts is there, and you can choose the chart. This scatter with the straight lines. Okay. When you choose this, okay, you will find the gust load factor diagram. So this is your gust load factor diagram, right? So this is said to be gust envelope load factor diagram. Okay. So here we will found some differences between these two things, right? So here you can also include points here, right? Right. You can use points here, right? So that it could be easy for you to understand, right? So here you will be having considering gust load factor as 1. Okay. So when at 0 velocity, you will be having the additional load factor, okay, which has been developed due to gust wind. And we have for 200, and then for 270, okay, and then for 409, 405, and then we have 409, 5.9 during negative load condition. And then when negative load increases, minus 1.45 and minus 1.47 is the limit. Okay, so it should not exceed this minus 1.5 for an business jet aircraft. So for me, business jet aircraft, I am having this gust load envelope diagram. So when I am flying at 22,000 feet, I have to maintain this gust envelope load factor, and I have to maintain my flight within this load factor itself, right? I should not exceed this. And here you will be having a load factor. So here you will be having the small adjustment like the cruise speed. Okay. So for minimum speed and then for maximum speed, and then we will be having the maximized speed. Okay. That is the dive speed. And dive speed at the maximum load factor, we can have the possibility up to 3.5. Okay. And after that, the structural damage can occur. And then your maximum dive speed during diving at a low angle of attack, we will be having this condition. And here, when you go for negative angle of attack, and we will be having this as an speed. Okay, so based on this speed, we will be having some convergence point here, right? But here in this gust envelope, okay, you will find that the area is said to be changed. Okay, when these two diagrams, when you compare these two diagrams, the areas are changing, right? Now we will be going for, I can show you the report that the comparison of two things. That is, we have the gust diagram. So the same gust diagram has been obtained by us. And then we had this diagram already. Right, we have ordinary VN diagram and then gust envelope VN diagram, and you may just look at the difference, right? So you can travel within this region. So within the speed you can travel, and here is also you can travel within the speed limit, because as per your old VN diagram, you can travel within the speed. And we have the other fields as a gust field. So the gust field has been already overlapped with the ordinary VN diagram, so that there is no issue at all, right? You can fly within this zone. And the only thing you can, if you are facing gust wind in this zone, okay, you can fly for a moment. Okay, there is no issue. You can fly for a moment. So that this gust envelope diagram explains you that these are my flying regions where the structural damage cannot occur, right? So this is the case you have to plot and you have to get it from your report, and you will be make accessible to your aircraft that my aircraft will fly in guest envelope zone, right? So you have to do it for your aircraft design. Now you have to plot this VN diagram for your aircraft design. So this is your experiment number 1. So you have regular VN diagram and then just envelope VN diagram. You have to plot these two VN diagrams like this. Okay. So you have to plot this and you have to submit it in the report. You have to copy and paste it in this report. Right. Okay. Next we are going for wing load distribution.